I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
I always miss the beat. You would think that I didn't know how to dance.
You're swagging and surfing.
I'm that person that, when they're like off beat and you look at them and they throw you off your own beat. Yeah, I'm that. Guys, Station 19, this episode was just a lot. It was a lot.
It was hot and cold in the storm tonight.
Man. Anyways, welcome back. Ice, baby. I'm one of your hosts, Linda Antwi, and to my immediate left, one of my faves.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tsahai Wilson, and we are ready to get down.
Man, what were your overall thoughts about this episode?
I love seeing the whole baby being born situation. This whole Pilar situation being literally frozen was very sad, and it threw me off with Travis and Pilar. I didn't get the connection initially, so we'll talk about that because it took me a minute to I was like, why are we flashing back to his past, and then how is she connected to him? But it all makes sense now.
Love it.
Yep.
I cried for real, and I just thought that it was all of it was beautiful. Like, there was a loss of life, but there was also the beginning of new life. So that whole part of it. And then with, why do I keep calling him Vic? But Jack and Vasquez and that whole thing. He knew the whole time. I think you might have called it. I think that you talked about how he knew his wife.
Yes.
And so he's known the whole time. He was just holding that anger in. Oh! And then with Jack being all like, hey man, so we got off on the wrong foot. Trying to do all that. And dude's like, nah, we're still on the wrong foot.
It speaks to the fact that everyone's marriage is different and people know their partners, and what may look one way from the outside, between those two individuals, they have a totally different understanding. And that's what we saw here. This couple, he understands that his wife is a cheater. He accepts her for that. But every time I see Vasquez with kids, he's so sweet with kids. Did you see him? It's like he loves kids, which shows that he has a softer side to him.
Besides the brute, like,
yeah,
I got you.
Yeah, sorry, making connections here.
I was like,
sorry, I'm tired tonight. Stretching it, patching it all together, guys. It's Thursday.
So let's talk about Vic first. So we see Vic and Travis in the opening. We see Vic having her first fight with McSteamy. I call him McSteamy. He's not McSteamy.
Jackson
with
Avery.
Jackson. And what did you think of that? Because if you guys remember, and we've been telling you to make sure you're up on Grey's, Jackson on Grey's apologized to Maggie. And I know you called it last week that they may get back together. And Vic feels that she's being a little ghosted right now because of this fight. What were your thoughts on that?
Last week when I saw Jackson apologize to Maggie, I literally almost fell off the couch because I was so excited that it happened. But once I heard this fight with Vic, I was like, ooh, trouble in paradise. So I think there's going to be some, it's not all great after the dinner and her meeting his mom. That doesn't mean anything in this situation. They're still new, so anything can happen.
And, in those hospital hours, he's going to run into Maggie all the time.
But then when that little girl said, hey, are you and Dean, is that your girlfriend? I was like, is that foreshadowing? Remember the little girl?
Yeah.
She was playing basketball and she was like, Kobe. And we both teared up. We were like, oh, R.I.P. Kobe. But yeah, when she said that, I was like, are they planting a seed here?
And, children see it all, right? That pure innocence. So maybe there's something underneath that. I don't know. And yes, that Kobe moment, that was one of the moments where I was like, oh.
I know, it started there. It started chipping away at our cold hearts.
Okay, so let's talk about Jack and Andy and how they are talking about Maya, talking about their hookup, saying it was only going to be a one-time thing, and that they're buddies and roommates, and that's all. Who are you fooling? Who are you fooling right now?
Jack, I have a sweet spot in my heart for him because he was, in a foster home and he's a foster child. And I just always feel like he's a good person at heart. So I feel like Andy has the ability to break his heart all over again.
And she will.
I know. And she's saying she's not going to do it again, but we know she's going to do it again.
Absolutely going to do it again.
I'd do it again. Ugh. Maya did it again. I mean, look at him.
Yeah, I think that the Andy Jack thing is no bueno. I think that they should just be buddies, but we already know from their history that they're not going to just be able to do that, especially now that Andy's in more pain than ever. Right? So
Yeah.
she's going to have that go-to person that she always needs.
Yep.
Now, I wanted to talk a little bit since I'm talking about Andy. Um she still has that anger that I can't place with Maya, and I just don't like it.
It's so funny because you get upset at the anger, and I think the anger is valid. So why don't you like the anger? Why don't you? Because when she was saying to Maya, you took the job, you could have said something, and you were like, stop being a crybaby.
Because okay, so again, she feels entitled to that job.
Mm-hmm.
She says that she was promised that job. She says that two men decided she was too sad to get the job.
Right.
And she feels like she was the only one that was professionally ready for that job. And I don't agree with that. I think that Maya is just as good as her. I agree with Maya that Andy's messy. She does bring her feelings into the job all the time.
Yeah.
And she like mixes work with pleasure on the job. Like she's like we even saw her in that moment with the baby. It really was um Maya the one that was like taking charge, and Andy was kind of like
Emotional.
even before she found out her dad was dying, she
Yeah.
was still like emotional. And I just think it's not a good look. I think that what Maya was saying, that you have to be relentless and you have to be like just go go go,
Right.
is indeed a good like
Definitely.
like what am I trying to say?
A good
It's
trait to
it's
have.
a good trait to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in that moment, what Andy was saying to Maya is that as a friend, as someone who was my roommate, as someone I was close to, I would have preferred you just come to me and have said something. Yes, the men decided, but you could have said, hey, girl, listen, I'm going to go after this position. Just a little heads up. And I think she's feeling still a little slighted because of the way she found out about Maya and Jack. So there have been several instances where she's like questioning the loyalty between her, someone who she considered a friend.
But it's not just only that, because I wrote it down because I was like, what is she? She said, you took the job that I earned and was promised, even though you should think it was wrong.
Right, but she also said you should have come to me, and I think that's the point. That's what I took out of it. Like I would have preferred to hear it from you than to just hear it when it got announced.
I don't know. I guess we're
Different
both
perspectives.
different perspectives. Let's move on to Travis and Pruitt, and that was the beginning of Travis kind of poking him like, you need to go and tell Andy what's going on, and I liked that moment because. Yeah. He was like, well, yeah, I know I'm hovering around and I haven't done anything yet. And I was like, yeah, you need to go and talk to your daughter.
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
Pruitt, I just seeing him knowing that he's like a ticking time bomb, it was just sad. And I didn't realize that they were going to link him being around to his like running out of time. And so when Andy made that connection, I was like, oh, I'm so used to seeing him there. So I think it'll hit even us as the audience hard when he's no longer around in this 6-month time period. But hopefully in TV land, 6 months is actually a year and he'll live longer. I can't take another death right now. It's been too many.
I mean, come on, you guys. Neither can I.
I know.
Can you get the miracle cure or something?
Right?
Something. Let's talk about the first emergency. So this Eisenhower, the dog, who is a Belgian something, Malinois?
Waffle. Belgian waffle. Sorry, guys.
I was like, what is this? No. Anyways, Belgian.
Sorry.
Malinois comes in with a bloody shoe in his mouth, and his owner comes in behind him, says that he basically took a chainsaw to his foot because he was trying to de-ice his roof or whatever with a chainsaw.
I can't.
I was like, what?
I don't know. This guy, he looks like he lives in a like a trailer by himself in the woods. Like he's kind of a weirdo. But and then he's gambling $500 on a game, and he leads an interesting life.
But you took a chainsaw to ice?
And then you stapled your foot together, so he's hardcore.
Stapled and duct tape.
True, because you need both. Yeah.
I mean, and he was calm about it.
Very calm.
Because the internet said.
WebMD, yeah.
Man. So we see that whole interaction. We also see Ben and Sullivan dealing with this situation. And Ben giving a lot of side eye to Sullivan. Like, he knows something is up, but he's not quite sure what it is until the end. I think that he realized, hey, listen, when he was counting that fentanyl, given that look, like, I know these numbers are not right.
Right.
I think he's going to put 2 and 2 together. What do you think?
Do we think Sullivan, when he went to get the fentanyl for the guy, did he say one for me, one for you?
Oh, yeah. So he took 2 last time.
Right.
And now that he has the code too.
Girl,
it's
a
a
mess.
wrap.
We kept on shaking our heads like, here we go again. So.
And did you see how Ben paused before he gave him the code?
Yes, he did.
I was like, you know something's up.
So I was wondering, was he high tonight? Or was he... Because, I don't know, he seemed calmer. He didn't seem as high as we saw him before. But I was like, I don't know if I'm just like every minute, everything he does now, I'm like, you're high. But I guess he actually may not have been because he felt the pain.
That's what I was going to say.
So,
I don't think he was high in the moment. I think that as soon as he felt the pain and he said that he had a Charlie horse, I was like, now you're a liar too.
You're just a whole liar.
You're a druggie and a liar.
Yep.
And a thief.
Now, we will say we understand addiction, is an issue for some people. But in this case, with this fictional character who, he's so strong-willed, it's just so surprising to us. That's what I will say.
I agree with Tsahai. Go and get the surgery, dum-dum.
I know. Annoying.
It's so annoying. Okay, let's move on to Dean. He's making chili, and he's really trying to contemplate, like, wrap his mind around being a father. And I just thought that it was a really cute moment. Like, you see JJ screaming that the baby needs chili, and he's doing the chili thing, and I just thought it was really sweet.
It was cute, but I was disgusted. I don't like when people make large pots of things and then dip a spoon and then tasting and then like dribble of the food goes into the pot. I just think it's disgusting.
Who did that?
Dean tasted it and then Jack came and tasted it and it just grossed me out. And then the chili looked gross. I was like, I don't know. That chili looks like spaghetti sauce. It was just too much for me. I'm sorry. But I like the fact to see Dean cooking. I was like, is he cooking enough for the whole station with all the guests there?
Yeah,
like, what is going on?
You gotta feed all those people that are displaced. That's why you're making the big pot of chili.
I was disgusted.
I mean, I didn't get all of that from that. I thought it was a sweet moment.
It's
that Jack was bonding.
People are getting sick out here for many things, so I don't want nobody double dipping in my chili.
Okay, calm down. I can't with you.
But yeah, JJ being pregnant, she's so cute pregnant. She's
really
adorable. She had on those little boy shorts when she took off her pants, and she's just so cute. And then we saw the reveal.
Yeah, I was totally wrong. I'm glad that it's Dean's baby.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe
we don't know.
She could have been with another black man in the time span. Because why do we think she shouted out, "I was on the pill"? Was that just like out of pain, or like what was she?
Yeah, like I guess it was a surprise that it wasn't a planned pregnancy, right? So, but I think that she's probably going to be so happy now that she's a mom.
And that's a cute baby.
The baby's cute.
And then to see Dean's big hands.
Y'all could have done a little better with the whole birth and no umbilical cord and the baby's all clean and beautiful, but
did we won't get into all of that. We already saw the gross foot. Did we need to see it gross?
I mean,
bloody baby.
Real in the moment.
Yeah, I'm good.
Let's talk about the second emergency. So Pilar. First of all, I was mad that she was on hold for over an hour, 911. 911 get your act together. But I understand it was a snow blizzard and people can get around, but pick up the phone. Jeez. So turns out she's in her car. I guess she went over a bridge and she's under the snow. And we also hear that there's something wrong with her leg, right? So that whole thing. And Travis ends up bonding with her. And it was that was the second time I cried because we found out that she was not going to make it, and the relationship that she was having with her son and how her son was mad at her and hadn't been talking to her, and then we see in the flashbacks how Travis was also mad at his mom. I just thought that was so sad.
Yeah, I didn't know they were going to bring the Michael storyline into the show like this. I thought it would have been like Travis reflecting on his past relationship once he gets into a new one. That's what I thought was going to happen. So for them to connect it to this mother who also was, regretted how she treated her son, it threw me off initially. So thanks for breaking that down because I was like, what's going on here? But it was beautiful to see Michael. And don't miss our news and gossip segment because we have some thoughts from Travis on what it was like to work with this new character.
Yeah, because this is actually really the first time we're seeing the person,
Exactly.
Michael, and putting a voice to it.
Yep.
3 seasons in, so yeah, it was a pretty big deal that it was in a flashback and that they were like so beautiful together. Like that moment they had at the altar where, don't worry, your parents aren't here. I'm gonna be your family now. That whole thing. So these flashbacks, I like the fact that they're really giving us the backstories to the characters that we've known for a few years now.
Yeah, yeah. What got me was when the mom read the poem to just the two of them, and to see how Michael was willing to understand that some people take longer to. He had to meet. They had to meet them where they could. They were. Travis would have preferred to force her to get with the times and understand his lifestyle, where Michael was meeting her where she stood, and being a little bit more understanding. And it shows just like how, especially as your parents get older, they're going to be more stubborn. And if you want to spend time with them before they pass or something, happens, you have to kind of just sometimes be flexible, even when it's hard.
That's some good wisdom.
Thanks.
Although, let me tell you right now, family, mother, you're coming to my wedding. Whatever it is.
See, I'm different. I would elope. I don't care. It's just me and my husband.
Listen, I don't care if you don't like my husband. I don't care. Whatever. You're gonna be there. That's all I know. No reading me a poem 6 months later. I'm not meeting where you are. You're coming to the wedding. The end.
Well,
I'm not as lenient. So let's talk about Vasquez and Jack because that was a huge moment.
First of all, is Vasquez getting more and more handsome by the week?
No.
I think he's very attractive this week. Pre-punching Jack in the face, he was handsome. Just saying.
His attitude is stinky, so I can't really see past
But he was nice with the kids when he was giving them the little tour. Yeah, I thought that was sweet.
So we find out that he knows his wife very, very well. He knows that she's a flirt and sometimes takes things way too far. We found out a lot, actually. So she flirts, she goes home and tells him, and it's like a turn on for them, and they have like,
rough sex.
Rough, crazy sex, and that's a turn on. Fine. Whatever works for you. And then sometimes she gets drunk and bored, and he knows that she goes out and takes it beyond flirting, that she cheats. And this time she cheated with a coworker, and he knew all along. So that means that you've actually told him who it was.
Do you think he knew on the camping trip?
Absolutely.
Ew.
Well, I think that, because remember when they were walking in, he was like giving Jack the side eye?
Yeah.
So.
I mean, but like, what kind of relationship is that? And what does that say about Rigo, the fact that he enjoys his wife being with other men? Like, is that some kind of like,
I don't know if he enjoys it. I think he just accepts it because he knows who she is.
But he says it turns him on. It's like, okay, what kind of, how do you value yourself if that type of behavior makes you feel good? So I wonder if we're going to get into his backstory and see why he feels like this is an acceptable way to be in a marriage.
Well, we know, looking at the little flash forward for next week, that it's just not going to be good. Because, like they said, they're a family. So when you don't trust your family and you work and are in dangerous situations, it's not a good look.
Did it surprise you the way Dean reacted when Jack told him?
No, because Dean is very black and white, and Dean is very like that solid. He's the friend that is like, I have my SH together, right? He's just that guy. So I wasn't surprised that he saw it so black and white. Like, you don't betray your family, you don't cheat. That type of thing. And
but you saw how Vic, on the other hand, when Rigo was like, Vasquez was like, oh, do you want to hear what he did? And she's like, nope. So it's like she didn't care about Vasquez. She just was worried about Jack. And she doesn't know what happened. So I wonder whose side she's going to take when she does find out.
Yeah.
In that kitchen scene. She was like, nope, I don't care what he
Yeah,
did.
because she knows where her alliances are, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's the new guy still, really, at the end of the day.
Right.
So she's gonna align with her family,
Yep.
even though they're all family, because they're all the firefighters.
But
He's the newest.
True. Yeah. And but he keeps referencing his old station. So is he staying there permanently now? Or is he just like a visitor?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know where he came from.
Yeah. And then somebody gets burned up next week, and I think it might be him. Do we think so?
I don't know who it is.
Yeah.
But it's bad because it's between Jack and him, because that's where we see that the trust is lost.
Yeah.
So
darn, not Jack, please. Not Jack.
So let's talk about real quick Maya, Andy, Dean, and Pruitt. So
Mhm.
they're all. This is like JJ being in labor and that whole thing. I thought it was funny where she kept screaming for the epidural, get me epidural, and then when she's like, well. Dean's like, well, it's a blizzard out there. She's like, well, then Postmate the epidural.
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious. And then I also thought it was hilarious when she called Pruitt Mario Kart.
I was like, is that a little racist? I didn't know what was up. And he was like, who's Mario Kart? Poor thing. The man's dying. Don't make fun of him.
I thought it was hilarious. I was like, this whole when women are in labor, like they just say whatever and sometimes it's mean, hurts people's feelings.
Yeah.
I just thought that was like funny.
But that was the thing. I'm tired of every show showing a woman going, her water breaking and, you see the water. And I learned that not every woman's water breaks when she goes into labor. So that's a fun fact. Also, I wish Dean, having been someone who deals with stressful situations all the time, I wish for his possible child's, birth, I wanted him to be there. I wanted him to be.
I was wondering why he wasn't.
I was like, why is he so frazzled? Like, dude, calm down. I understand you're scared, but like, you've had a couple of weeks to process this. And like I said, you deal with stress every day.
Because you're a firefighter, you probably have been around babies being delivered or women getting into the EMS truck. And, yeah, it was weird.
There was like, a car that smashed into a bar the other day. You dealt with that. Like, come on.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I was like, why is he not here? Are they trying to like be all like, why?
Yeah, he's too big
in the building.
Yeah, he's too big to be acting frazzled like that all the time. So I'm glad the baby's now born, and hopefully he'll, be a good involved and be kind of just process the whole dad thing a little bit better.
Let's talk about Maya and Dr. DeLuca and that little flirty situations that they had there. They're showing us that they're actually really kind of developing some type of something.
She was super helpful with this whole birthing thing.
She was helpful, but they were also flirting hardcore.
Yeah. Whenever you say Dr. DeLuca, I think of her brother. So but that's her name, Karina DeLuca. So yeah, I mean, I'm glad. I want, even though Maya is being harsh on the team, I feel bad for her, and that no one is talking to her. So I'm glad she has Karina, who seems to understand her, and everybody needs love.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I think that we've covered Jack and Dean. Yeah, we talked about them. And the Rico beatdown.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else we think we should cover?
I think we're good. I'm just still. What are your guys' thoughts on this whole connection between Jack and Pilar? It threw
Jack
me.
and Pilar.
I mean, I'm sorry, Travis and Pilar. It just really threw me a little bit. I want to hear your thoughts. Also, thanks to everyone that hit us up in the comments last week. I want to give a shout out to Paola Ortega, Joanna R07, Crystal Sims, Gemini 3, Marima Gabriela Tropoja. And that is it. Oh, and Shell. Thank you guys so much. Can't wait to see your comments this week.
Yay! Well, let's get into some news and gossip.
Sure. So Travis did a takeover on the Station 19 Instagram today. So I pulled some images from Instagram and from that IG story. But the first one is in honor of TBT, a flashback of young Travis, the actor who plays Travis, as a young man with long hair. Look how cute he was. Like, the caption says, hippie high school Jay wants you to know how many days until the season 2 premiere. This is an old photo, but I just seeing him with long hair and that young face, I was like, he reminded me of Keanu Reeves in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
Cute. Super cute.
And so the next slide is from the takeover, and it says tonight's episode was directed by one of the best, Tess Images, and her name is Teresa Blake, and she's also directed episodes of A Million Little Things, iZombie, and NCIS New Orleans. And I thought this was important to show that Station 19 is supporting female directors, which I think is awesome.
That is awesome.
Next image is of the tonight's writer of tonight's episode. His name is Rob Giles. Or Giles, excuse me if I'm mispronouncing it. But fun fact, Rob, as we see in the next slide, first of all, this was his first episode that he's ever written that has aired on television. So he was super excited about that. We'll see him post about that in that next slide where it says, "My first TV episode as a writer. I'm happy of myself." I thought that was cute. And then so Rob, this writer of tonight's episode, is not just any old writer. Oh no, there's a crossover connection to Rob. If we go to the next slide, we'll see that he is married to Grey's cast member Katerina Scorzone, who plays Amelia. How funny is that?
It's all in the family.
All in the Shondaland family. They are married and they have 2 children. I think they're married, but they definitely have 2 children. And now they're kind of working together. So I think that's awesome. And tonight, as we mentioned, we got to meet Travis's husband, and we have a behind the scenes photo of him.
Is that him?
That's him. Yeah, that's the guy who played Travis's husband.
He looks different.
I know. That's his name is Jonathan Bennett, and the caption says, "Suited up and ready to head to the altar on tonight's Station 19." Now, this face may look familiar because Jonathan Bennett also was in Mean Girls.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And that is it for the photos of tonight's episode, photos for news and gossip. But we have an article that was on Entertainment Tonight online where Travis J. Hayden gives us some insight into what he thought about finally getting to talk about his husband. He says, for getting to explore Travis and Michael's marriage for an episode was a gratifying experience. But the thing is, Jay Hayden and Jonathan Bennett, who played his husband Michael, were already friends. So they've been on several auditions together. And when they walked into the room and saw each other, they were like, "I'm glad it's you." Like, it was like a full circle moment for both of them. Also, he was happy to find out like what the backstory was on Michael. Like, he said to find out what their domestic life was about, and how they related to each other's families. He said it was nice to kind of find out who they were, and it was nice to see a little more of a tender side from Travis when it comes to Michael. So that is that. Oh, and one other thing. So there's talk about Travis having a possible new love interest, and again, he's going to come from the Grays family. There's talk about Travis and Schmidt getting together.
I can see that.
I didn't even know this was a thing until reading this article. So
well, because if on Grey, Schmidt is having issues
right.
with his boyfriend,
yes.
who is not being bueno and hasn't even come out of the closet.
Right. So Jay Hayden said Travis needs some love. So it's one of those cases where they work down the street from each other. They go to the same restaurants. They mingle at the same bars, and they run into each other a lot. They kind of cohabitate together. So. And
we know that we're doing crossovers nonstop.
Exactly.
Season, so
So we'll see. So that's tonight's news and gossip.
I love it. Thank you. Let's move on to some quick fire facts. And if you've not watched our show, we like to do a little fire facts, learn a little something about fires. Today we're going to focus specifically on carbon monoxide. They say that often it's called the invisible killer because it's an invisible, odorless, colorless gas that creates fuel, such as oxygen, colorless gas created when fuels such as gasoline, wood, coal, natural gas, propane, oil, and methylene burn incompletely. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your home is safe from carbon monoxide. So you should have a carbon monoxide alarm in your house, which is different than a fire alarm detector.
Mm-hmm.
So it should be installed in a central location outside each sleeping area, just like a fire detector, which I didn't actually know. Because
you told us something like this last week, right? When one of the recent fire facts, one of our quiz questions, I think.
No, because that was, so there's a difference between fire detector.
Right, and the carbon monoxide one. Yeah, I thought.
So the fire detector, yes, you're supposed to have one outside of every room, but you're also supposed to have one for the carbon monoxide alarm, which I didn't know. Like, I even think of where I live now, and I know there's just one in the whole place. So I'm gonna have to definitely look into that.
And little Pilar didn't have one in her car. That was the first thing that almost got her.
Yep. And then you're supposed to test the carbon monoxide alarms at least once a month. So same as last week where you're looking at your fire detector, you also have to take a look at your carbon monoxide detector and make sure that is up to date because it's a big deal. Those are your fire facts this week, folks.
Loving that.
Let's do predictions real quick.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
What are your predictions?
I think Vasquez is going to be the one that we saw getting burned up. I think we're going to see Andy still reeling from the processing that not only has her mother died, but now her father is going to be dying as well, and she'll feel like an orphan, which may connect her more to Jack, who also was kind of orphaned. Connections. I think Sullivan is going to dive deeper into his addiction to this fentanyl, and hopefully, we see that he gets found out and people find out about what's going on with him. I'm tired of seeing this crying out loud with this damn leg pain. And then we will see if Vic and Jackson last another week. And what if she falls into the arms of Dean? I don't know, but I hope, even though I've been saying Dean and Maggie, if Jackson and Maggie get back together and then Dean and Vic get together, I'm happy with that.
Okay.
That's just me.
Okay. I see you. I think that Dean and JJ are going to be an insta family. I think that he's going to fall in love, not only with the baby, but with JJ being the mother. And it wasn't what he expected. It wasn't what he planned, but I think that that's going to be his little happily ever after. I think that Andy's going to have a 100% breakdown because she's now lost Ryan. She lost her job and the promotion that she thought she was going to get. She's about to lose her dad. And she lost Sullivan. And even though we saw that little romantic moment where Sullivan was there for her as she found out about her dad having 6 months, I think that she's going to completely lose him. And I thought that this was like a sneak peek when she just started crying when the baby came out and she realized that her dad's dying and that whole thing, it hit her. I think she's not going to be able to bounce back. And she's going to have a little breakdown. And I think that between Sullivan's addiction and her breakdown, it's going to bond them in some weird way where they both say, this is what's traumatizing me in my life right now. Those are my predictions. But I was wrong last week, so we'll see what happens for next week. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. You can find me all across social media at Linda So Girly.
And you can find me at Say Hi Tsahai.
Bye for now. See you guys next week.
Good night.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.